Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of all races, colors, and creeds, welcome back to the Friday edition of the greatest show on earth, next to the Trump rallies. You like this? This is Greg Anthony, by the way. You like that entertainer they've hired as president, selected as president? Man, I tell you, I was listening the other day. It was better than listening to Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David. I hope you catch that show. It's one of the only enjoyments in life I have. Greg Anthony here, First Amendment Radio. A lot to talk about today, and let me quote Donald Trump. Where would you rather be than a Trump rally? Where would you rather be than on the investigative journal here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com? Wow, a lot to talk about. These guys, man, are killing me. I tell you, the show must go on, as they say in Hollywood. And this is actually better than Hollywood. Better. And I'm loving the political scene now because, you know, when you kind of sit up on a perch and are not a participant in anything. I have no dog in the fight, so to speak. And you understand what the hell's going on. By the way, we're getting screwed. And we're going to be led right down the road of communism, socialism, fascism, just like, you know, I talked about the other day. Now, let me give you something here. Oh, let me tell you what we're going to do. Okay, first I want to talk about this article that came out in the New York Post a little while back. It's interesting. It talks about the Jesuits. It talks a little bit about an article that was published in their magazine. It's gonna knock your socks off. Incredible. And relate that to what we talk about as far as who created socialism back in the 1600s. The good old Jesuit order, my good friends. But anyway, secondly, I want to talk about, I'm going to play that 6 minutes of a speech that Trump gave yesterday in Hollywood. It's precious. And it's about the two-tier justice system. And I really enjoyed listening to it because, you know, we talk about it all the time, how, you know, these guys at the top levels in the Clinton administration, all these New World Order freaks never go to jail for anything. They can lie to Congress. They can do what the hell they want. Keep state secrets like Clinton did. Bleach bit 33,000 emails, and they walk free. Yeah. And then if you're associated to Trump and MAGA and the, you know, America First constitutional people, you're going to get screwed. And I'll tell you what, this Roger Stone case is really important because if they can do that to him, they'll do it to you. And this is real. I mean, okay, it's all a stage, but you know, it's like reality TV. It really does happen, even though it's all premised on the wrong things. And we're living in kind of this fantasy world. So I want to play that. I also want you to look out. There's a bill in the U.S. House of Representatives that's going to knock your head off. Now you got your socks knocked off, your head knocked off. This bill, it's called the New Way Forward Act, and it really opens up borders. It's incredible, but it also is going to allow felons to come back, and you're going to pay for it. It's amazing what they're trying to do. These Jesuits and these globalists, man, they're out for blood. And thirdly, what's the third thing I wanted to do? There's one more thing. So I have Trump. We're going to do that. We're going to talk about communism and then the new way forward. That should do it. Yeah, that's doing it. And, you know, I'm looking here at a picture. I love these pictures that I find sometimes that keep me going, so to speak, in life. And it's Harry Truman. Remember, you know, the buck stops here? He said this. He said, you can't get rich in politics unless you're a crook. Well, Mr. Joe Biden, here's another one, Matt. Did you know what this guy, when he was vice president, his whole family now are millionaires. times over, because every place he goes, he does a deal, a quid pro quo, so to speak, and his family gets rich. So he goes to Ukraine. His son is a millionaire now. You know that story. And he bribes them. He says, "You got to get rid of the prosecutor who is investigating the company my son works for, even though my son has no experience. And the reason he's there is because the Ukrainians want to get favors from the Obama administration." Then he went to China and did the same thing, and he's done that for his brother, everybody. So Harry Truman's right. Biden's a crook, but he's on the side of the globalists, so he's walking scot-free. And then we got good old Hillary. I'm looking at a picture of her, and here's the Democratic platform for you. Outlaw God, outlaw guns, outlaw free speech, control all media, guilty till proven innocent, label others as fascists when we are the fascists, and vote Democratic. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Crazy. And remember this, I want everybody listening to go to the picture of the U.S. House of Representatives, the podium, and look behind it, and you're going to see two fasci symbols. And these were the symbols of the fascist Roman government, to a T. And I asked the question, representatives, ask your representative, whether it's Republican or not, what the hell is that? I mean, that's really where we're going. Well, listen, I got to get back to this. Let's just start out by saying this. You know where I come from. Everything's a stage, including this politics. And basically, I don't believe in joining any of their clubs or sides. I don't believe in becoming a right-winger, a left-winger. I believe in looking above and having a ball with this, because if you understand, they both work together in what's called the Hegelian dialectic, where they're the puppet masters and everybody on top. They all know what's going on, but they have to fight, back and forth to make the American people believe that, they're right or they're right. And you join one of them, and then you get involved in all this pushing and shoving and anger that's going on now. Do you believe how angry people are? I'm not at all. I'm happy. I'm telling you, watching this makes me happy. It's better than watching, I told you, Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David, which I turn on. I watch 4 or 5 minutes of it every day, because I believe every day you should have a big laugh. Every day you should cry a little bit. Every day you should experience every part of life. And I try to do that. Crying, something, every time I look at my wallet, I cry. Oh my God, how did I end up like this? I thought I was going to be a millionaire like Bloomberg, and look at me. But if that dummy, did you watch that debate? If he can be a millionaire, anybody can. He's a moron. I mean, unless it's we know it's a stage, but at least have some self-dignity. If you're going to play that part, he's paid well, So anyway, maybe he's just playing his part. But anyway, so let's get back to this. Jesuits created communism. You don't believe me? Socialism. Go to history books and read about the things they don't tell you regarding the Jesuit Paraguay reductions. They were the masters of it. And they've been working together with Stalin. We know the Stalin, boy, one day I'll do a real serious show on the connections of Joseph Stalin to the Jesuits. You will be flabbergasted. And also their connections to Hitler through Pope Pius XII, etc., etc. So these guys work with anybody. Okay, so Jesuits create communism, and I said all these people in government now pushing Bernie, pushing for communism, OAC. Their mentors are the Jesuits. They're not smart enough to know this stuff. She can hardly even, she doesn't even know how many branches of government there are. She was an actress. She actually, if you really look into this, she went on an audition in New York because they were trying to get rid of the moderate Democrat, and she won. She had no experience as a politician. She just looked good and could talk. And so you could feed her some lines and she'll believe anything. So anyway, I found this article which I find interesting, and they show a picture of a march carrying a portrait of Soviet leader Stalin during the Victory Day military parade, and this is in Russia. Recently, recently, and they got all these people carrying and glorifying Stalin. And I said to myself, they got to really, carry the Pope's picture or the Jesuits' picture of Ignatius Loyola, because they are the ones that created and worked with Stalin. It's incredible. Along with, and we have good information regarding a priest, a former Jesuit priest, who worked, Father Edmund Walsh. He's got very interesting connections to the Bolshevik Revolution. He's also on Eisenhower's website. He started the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown, where all our diplomats are trained. So you don't think they have a connection here? Forget it if you don't. Last week, okay, so this article in the Post is interesting, and I wanted to update because it appeared in July of 2019, not long ago. And it said, last week a New York-based magazine published a 3,000-word article about communism. And it glorified communism. And it showed how great it was. And that failed to mention the murder of maybe 50 million people. Oh, well, that's nothing. When you look back at the Vatican's history and the Jesuit history, they got more blood on their hands than, a group. They got more blood on their hands or paws than a herd of, a group of wolves attacking a bear and winning. And the lowest possible estimate, this is by communist regimes during the 20th century, 50 million. Those are low estimates. The Rambling, this essay, didn't once accuse Stalin's Soviet Union, Mao's China, Pol Pot's Cambodia of killing anyone. Instead, it congratulated communists, didn't mention the Jesuits, of course, because we're going to find out exactly where this magazine was published. You'll find it interesting. Instead, it congratulated communists for fighting the violent capitalist economy of the United States. So we're the bad guys, they're the good guys. Now, I tell you, they keep playing this Hegelian dialectic, because if you talk to a lot of Jesuits here, they'll tell you that the communists are the bad guys, and we're the good guys. But now they're saying they are the good guys and we're the bad guys. But who published this? Who published this crazy guy? America's Magazine, the century-old Jesuit periodical that is among the most influential Catholic publications in the United States. Can you believe that? Yeah, I can. So here's a real connection. Jesuits, what are you doing? And you know what? What about Bernie? And what about, I loved Bernie. He's a real good, he's a millionaire and has 3 homes, but he wants to be a socialist communist. Wow. Yeah, you know something? They have Jesuit connect. They have to. Because look at, why would they publish this? And you don't think the Jesuits, they created communism and fascism. They're here now spreading it. But, they talk both sides of the coin. They got Jesuits who say, oh, capitalism is great. Communism sucks. And then it goes the other way around. How can we explain this grotesque lapse of judgment with our good Jesuits? Isn't this guy who wrote it, Detloff, isn't some crazy freelancer who slipped his propaganda into the current issue of America when the editors weren't paying sufficient attention, or put some crazy, article up on the internet? No, it's in the Jesuit magazine, so well respected by Catholics. This can't happen unless it's orchestrated, right? Now, the writer is an America's Toronto correspondent. For 2 years, he has been writing partisan dispatches for America, making excuses for Venezuela's narco-dictator Nicolas Maduro, glorifying the far-left thugs of the Antifa movement. You understand what's going on here, folks? And never missing an opportunity to depict the United States as the great Satan of capitalism. In a Jesuit magazine. But you know what? They're only interested in saving souls, aren't they? Oh, yeah. Now, quote, here's let me see what this says here. It says, the United States is bad. This is a quote. It's not good. It would be better if it didn't exist. And someday, whether by the march of historical contingency or extinction, it won't. He tweeted on the 4th of July, this is the writer in the Jesuit magazine, which he called an abhorrent and perverse holiday that Christians have reasons to hate. Well, let me tell you, you want to get into it. I would love to debate this guy about holidays, because I'm an expert on pagan holidays. And I go through it all the time. I have fun with it. It's kind of interesting. But in introduction to, quote, Animal Farm, never published in his lifetime, George Orwell described the, quote, servility with which the literary establishment have swallowed Russian propaganda. But he was describing English Soviet apologists whose silence about the Gulag was explained partly by the wartime alliance with Stalin against Hitler. Now, Detloff the writer of this article, doesn't even have an excuse, nor apparently does his well-funded Jesuit editors. They are happy to whitewash and euphemize genocides in which their fellow Jesuits perished as tragic mistakes. Now, you see, you're always going to get, they will sacrifice their own folks. Yes, while they genocide millions in the world, remember the Croatian genocide that we've covered here many times? You can read all about it. If you're illegal, go to Alperin v. Vatican Bank. You'll be astounded. You'll see what I'm talking about, a case that was whitewashed and thrown out by the Ninth Circuit because under their robes, they wore Jesuit robes, Now, this article, listen to this. I'm going to read this because they're kind of supporting Pope Francis here. He's a Jesuit, okay? He loves it. But they say, God only knows what Pope Francis makes of this. I know what he makes of this. He's laughing in his drawers right now. He's laughing. Finally, we're going to get socialism here pretty soon, guys. Let's just work hard on it. Don't worry about it. And, he remembers Soviet tyranny, does he? Has never defended it. Of course, they'll talk out of both sides of their mouth. As the Jesuit provincial in Argentina. Oh, I love this. He opposed liberation theology, a strand of Catholic thought in vogue in Latin America in the 50s, 70s, and 80s. This guy, you read the other side of the coin about Francis, okay? As a pontiff, however, he seems unconcerned by the crushing of religion in China, with which the Vatican has signed a concordat that grants the Chinese Communist Party a say in the selection of Catholic bishops. So remember I said go to concordat.com or it's .org and read about the 200 concordats or agreements, treaties the Vatican is with every country in the world, whether you're a dictator or not. And you'll understand why this organization is the most corrupt, the richest, and the most diabolical, satanic in the world. And why, if you're a Catholic, I want you to know this is not Catholic bashing. You have a responsibility to know about the hierarchy of your religion, as well as what their shenanigans are politically. But people don't. Because, you know what? Most of the people in the media here are afraid to because they'd lose their job just like that. They don't want to deal with the truth. You talk about the media is dead, no freedom of speech, no freedom of anything. All these people on the right wing are talking about it. Yeah, that's right. Why don't you let people like us talk about this? You might learn something. Well, maybe you know it and you're hiding it. But regardless, of what Pope Francis says, let me check the time here. I got about 6 minutes before the break. But regardless, in this, going back to the article, regardless of their views on Francis's pontificate, American Catholics should be alarmed by communist apologetics appearing in the pages of the country's premier Jesuit journal. I'm not alarmed. I know it. You be alarmed. Maybe some Catholic who doesn't believe a damn word I say here will listen to this and start researching it and say, hey, man, we got to do something here. But it's a piece with the preening naivety of countless millennial commentators, of whom Detloff, the guy who wrote this, is an extreme example, who roll their eyes at any mention of communist barbarism. Now, the ideology drenched with the blood of Catholics, bishops, priests, nuns, and lay people, should never find a home in a journal devoted to the Catholic faith. Yeah. What they missed was all the Protestants that were killed, all the people in Russia who weren't Catholic. They set their sights. How about the Buddhists in Vietnam? And let's go back farther and farther and farther. And let's got hundreds of millions of people slaughtered by this organization. And you don't think they have their hands in America now, wanting to change this country into a socialist haven? That's what it's going to be. Let me finish this. I got about 4 minutes, and then we're going to play that little Trump clip and also get into that New Way Forward Act and maybe talk a little bit. Why don't we read this guy's article a little bit, see really what he had to say. But anyway, this is kind of ridiculous what's happening in America right now, the socialist push. 2 years ago, you heard nothing in the mainstream. This is how they move. They got Bernie started this in '85. He's the Socialist Democrat now, who's leading in the Democratic polls. And let me give you a little hint. No matter who gets that Democratic candidate, they're gonna, even if they tell you they're a moderate, don't believe it. And they've already selected who's going to be there. So let's see who they selected in 2020. But let's really look at this. If it isn't just a group of people on the left that came out of nowhere, this is a plan. This has been orchestrated, and you can see it all over the place. Now putting in politicians who are speaking to the mainstream. You got Fox News talking about socialism half the time. They give more coverage to this than they do Trump now. I mean, it's ridiculous. They shouldn't even talk to these people. I mean, it's ridiculous what's happening. And you can bet the creators of socialism are behind it, hook, line, and sinker. But, that's taboo. You can't talk about it here. If you do, you get your tongue cut out. If you do, you'll get your head cut off. If you do, you'll be a member of the anti-Jesuit club, and basically when they get power, they're not going to like it. They're not going to be able to speak out anymore. They don't like freedom of speech. The Vatican, and you can read all their books and everything, and the Jesuits, their political party of choice, their political idea of choice is fascism. Why? Because it's easier to control. That's why, their organization, that's why Hitler said, and I hate to remind you again, that he basically patterned the Reich after the Jesuit Vatican organization, how they're organized. And when you see how they're organized and how they follow orders blindly, you'll know what I mean. Now, again, I want to remind you, let's get serious for at least a minute on this show. Go to concordat.com or .org and start reading about these concordats and ask yourself, what the hell is going on here? And how they really operate to gain control, special favors in countries, concordats, treaties, things that people that live, whether it's a democratic society or not, or a republic like ours, or socialism or dictatorships, they deal with it, and the people have nothing to say about it. There's a little concordat on some small island they just did a number of years ago, and they built the largest church in the world there, in the poorest country. And guess who paid for it? Those people. They actually probably built it as slaves. And the dictator, of course, gave all the money, and they got the biggest church in the world, and it's a real small island. That's what they do. So anyway, when you start talking about these people and why we're pushing towards socialism, if we don't talk about this, where it came from, who's behind it, look at the connections, then we're sunk. We may be sunk anyway, but at least we can go down knowing we understand something, outside of being led by the nose by these idiotic people that are all playing, a part. It's a big stage actors fiasco going on here. One of the biggest, the greatest ones going on now, and people are captivated by it, but most of them don't get what they're really doing. Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
Okay, we're back for the second half hour of the greatest show on earth. Not a Trump rally. No. This is the Investigative Journal. And I'm your host, Greg Anthony, here every day, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Let me just give a promo here. I'll be going on a new show. It's on CRN, and that's going to be Friday evenings at 7 o'clock, 7 to 9, once a week, along with this show here. And then I got something else going that really will be interesting, but I can't tell you right now. So we're going to try to expand a little bit and get this message out. We have to make ourselves available. That's all we can do. But anyway, before I get back to communism, democratic socialism, and what's going on in that article in the Jesuit Magazine, let's talk about something. Okay, anytime you start going, I'm going to talk about a bill in the House of Representatives, you think it's going to be boring. And it is, usually. I mean, you ever see those things? You know, one of the things I learned, I was a page when I was in college in the House of Representatives in Illinois. And my good buddy, who was a House of Representatives Democrat, he was kind of like my uncle, got me the job. And so I went to Springfield in a summer vacation to learn all about how corrupt Illinois politics were. And I got there, and I call him my uncle, said, Greg, I got some bad news. I said, oh, no, Uncle, I just came all the way here, from Macomb, Illinois to Springfield. He said, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We got you a little apartment, but you're going to be working with, there was no room on the Democratic side, so we're going to put you on the Republican side. So I worked with the Republicans. So there you go. They were all buddies. See, I told you they worked together. So anyway, I learned all about how they put things in bills. They'll give you a bill. We want to pass good milk or something. Then in that bill, you'll see we also appropriated $250 million for something for the military. They'll sneak stuff in. I don't know how they get away with that. So you don't know they're spending all this money. Or $250 million for a bridge in Hoboken, Arkansas. It was amazing. And all I used to do is a page run back and forth. I learned how to use a copy machine. I learned how to get lunch for people, get their coffee, all that kind of stuff. Good stuff. But anyway, this bill in the U.S. House of Representatives is scary. And if you don't think globalism and socialism and open borders are coming, if right now the House is Democrat, if we had a Democratic Senate and a Democratic president, this would be your laws. But this is I'm taking this, and guess who's talking about it? It's still a moderate Democrat. And he's telling us, and this is a Representative Byrne, okay, he says, there's a clear warning of how far to the extreme left in the Democratic Party has moved with this recently introduced New Way Forward Act. This is an immigration bill. I'm telling you, folks, if this passed, your country's complete. There are no borders. And, what I'm saying is you need borders. It just doesn't seem right if you don't have them, And you got to have a good controlled immigration system so you can have some kind of order. Now, this immigration bill would totally uproot the rule of law, provide amnesty for illegals here already, and import dangerous criminals into the United States. Yes, by allowing foreign citizens who committed serious felonies to stay in the country, all Americans, of course, would be at risk. Everybody would be. Even the illegals will be at risk. Everybody will be at risk. And by granting new rights to these people, the New Way Forward Act would prevent our immigration officials from detaining violent criminals, etc., etc. Shockingly, there's over 40 Democratic House representative sponsors of this bill. And it totally gets rid of any kind of laws. I mean, it's just the open game. One of the laws that's interesting is that the people that are sent out of the country now that have been adjudicated as felons or misdemeanors and sent out of the countries would be given an opportunity to return here, and then you're going to pay for their return. I mean, it's insane. But simply put, this New Way Forward Act aims to decriminalize any kind of illegal immigration from anywhere in the world. Open season in America. It would turn us into a sanctuary nation where anyone who desires entry can come in unchallenged. This is what's going on. It would grant new rights. This is what's happening there. It would grant new rights to illegal border crossers that would effectively shut down our already overworked immigration courts. For example, those detained illegally entering would be entitled to an initial custody hearing within 48 hours, and detainees could be entitled to a new bond hearing every 60 days. This is designed by the bill's authors to be impossible. The bill also includes provisions to block local law enforcement from performing immigration-enforced activities. Why would we want our law enforcement to actually enforce our laws? Why would we not want them to enforce our laws? Isn't that what they're there for? This explains a lot of what some of the liberal colleagues in Washington, this guy's a Democratic House of Representatives figure, and he's going to be, they're going to be the Young Turks, and the Socialist Democrats are going to target this guy to get him out of the House. You watch. And it's Senator Congressman Byrne. Now, perhaps most shockingly, the New Way Forward Act, this is in front of the House right now, introduced in the House, removes certain felonies from consideration when considering whether detainees should be allowed entry to our country. Why would we want to protect convicted felons from being deported? This legislation would roll out a welcome mat for anyone. The bill would even repeal laws that make illegal entry into the United States a crime. Can you imagine the chaos this would bring? Right, that's exactly what the Jesuits and everybody want. This bill has one goal, simply open borders. And that's why even acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf says this bill would gut the rule of law in this country. Now, this is amazing. Yet Democrats are overwhelmingly supporting sanctuary city laws now that allow jurisdictions to refuse to enforce our immigration laws. These sanctuary jurisdictions go further by stonewalling federal officials seeking to enforce immigration laws. But it even gets worse. States like California already have passed laws to grant driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. I bet you can't get a driver's license if you go to Mexico or to another country if you're not a citizen. Okay? But it gets worse. Shockingly, these laws could even automatically register illegal immigrants granted driver's licenses to vote in elections. Go to Mexico, American citizen. You can't vote in a Mexican election, and that's right. Last week, I signed on as an original, this is the sponsor, of the Stop Greenlighting Driver's Licenses for Illegal Immigrants Act. Okay. And basically, this guy is saying, watch out for this new Way Forward Act. It's an Open Borders Act, and that's what's going on. Socialism, open borders, gut the rule of law, destroy America as we know it. And that's exactly what the Socialist Democrats are trying to do, along with their compadres in crime, the Jesuits, Vatican-led New World Order. Okay. Now, I promised I wanted to play this clip from Trump, and it's really interesting. Okay, so let me tell you, yesterday or the day before, we talked about the two-tier justice system. And we all know that if you're on the side of America, the Constitution, you're open game for these renegade prosecutors out there who are selectively prosecuting people. For example, if you lie to Congress and you're Jim Comey or Andrew McCabe or Lisa Struck or all these people, you're okay. James Clapper, Holder from the Obama administration. Yeah, but if you're from, the camp of the not the globalists, not the socialists, if you're people like Paul Manafort, if you're people like Roger Stone, if you're people like others on that side, even you, this could happen to you. You could be in jail for a long, long time. So let's listen to what Trump had to say about the two-tier justice system yesterday. And I found it to be one of the more interesting speeches I've ever in my life heard from a president. And what I'm saying is he outlines what they're going to do. Now, whether it can be stopped is the question. But now we understand this is what we live under. And if this continues, there is no America with no justice system. Couple that with the story I just told you about the New Way Forward Act and open borders. Couple that with what I talked about, socialism coming to America in that article, that if we have time, I'm not sure we will, get back to it. But here, let's listen to Donald tell us about this, because it's quite interesting.
Before we go any further, I want to address today's sentencing of a man, Roger Stone. Roger Stone. He's become a big part of the news over the last little while, and I'm following this very closely, and I want to see it play out to its fullest, because Roger has a very good chance of exoneration, in my opinion. I've known, and you people understand it probably better than anybody in the room, I've known Roger Stone and his wife, who's really a terrific woman, for a long time, and Roger's definitely a character. Everybody sort of knows Roger. Everybody knows him, and most people like him. Some people probably don't, but I do, and I always have. He's a smart guy. He's a little different, but those are sometimes the most interesting. But he's a good person. His family is fantastic. He's got a fantastic family. And there's always a reason for that, isn't there? Roger was never involved in the Trump campaign for president. He wasn't involved. I think early on, long before I announced, he may have done a little consulting work or something, but he was not involved when I ran for president. And he's a person who, again, he knows a lot of people having to do with politics. His whole life is politics. That's what he is. And it's my strong opinion that the forewoman of the jury, the woman who was in charge of the jury, is totally tainted. When you take a look, how can you have a person like this? She was a anti-Trump activist. Can you imagine this? Now, you wouldn't know about a bad jury. Anybody here know about bad? No? These people know more about bad juries than everybody here, including the sheriff and the mayor and everybody. They know about bad juries. We're not going to say it too much, so let's not say it in front of more cameras than this. But you're my experts, okay? No, but this is a woman who was an anti-Trump person, totally. Now, I don't know if this is a fact, but she had a horrible social media account. The things she said on the account were unbelievable. She didn't reveal that when she was chosen. And she's, I guess, from what I hear, a very strong woman, a very dominant person. So she can get people to do whatever she wants. And she got on, then she became the four-woman on the jury. And I assume they asked her a question. Do you have any bias? Do you have any? She didn't say that. So is that a defrauding of the court? You tell me. But does this undermine our fair system of justice? How can you have a person like this? Did she delete her social account? And when Roger was determined by the same jury to be guilty, before the judge issued a sentence, and he was determined to be guilty, and she started going a little wild. She's very happy. And she started saying things that people said, that's strange. That's strange. And then they started looking at, now how can you have a jury pool tainted so badly? It's not fair. It's not fair. And you know, it's not happening to a lot of other people. Because you could look, I won't name names, but everybody knows who I'm talking about. What's happening over there? Nobody. Nobody. There are people that are, even in Roger Stone's basic business of politics, that were going to be in big trouble. Well-known people, the biggest people, big trouble. They were forced to leave their firm. One man was forced to leave his firm, and he was bad things were going to happen to him the following day. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. He was the biggest. Nothing happened. But it happened to Roger Stone, and it happened to General Flynn, and it happened to, I won't name names, it happened to a lot of people and destroyed a lot of people's lives. And I'm here to make a fair system. Again, Roger is not somebody who worked in my campaign. I know Roger, but a lot of people know Roger. Everybody sort of knows Roger. And what happened to him is unbelievable. They say he lied. But other people lied too. Just to mention, Comey lied. McCabe lied. Lisa Page lied. Her lover, Peter Strzok, lied. You don't know who these people are? Just trust me, they all lied. You had people that forged documents. You had people that wrote fake dossiers and brought them to the FBI and used people in the Justice Department to get them to the FBI. And these people know in the front row, you know better than anybody in this room what the hell I'm talking about, probably. So I'm only responding to you. I'm not even talking to the folks over there. But they get it better than anybody, too. A lot of bad things are happening, and we're cleaning it out. We're cleaning the swamp. We're draining the swamp. I just never knew how deep the swamp was. So if this woman was tainted, I hope the judge will find that she was tainted. And if she isn't tainted, that will be fine too. But I'm not going to do anything in terms of the great powers bestowed upon a president of the United States. I want the process to play out. I think that's the best thing to do, because I'd love to see Roger exonerated, and I'd love to see it happen, because I personally think he was treated very unfairly. They talk about witness tampering, but the man that he was tampering didn't seem to have much of a problem with it. I think they know each other for years, and it's not like the tampering that I see on television when you watch a movie. That's called tampering. with guns to people's heads and lots of other things. So we're going to see what it is. Maybe there was tampering and maybe there wasn't. But I'm going to let the media know that I'm going to watch the process. I'm going to watch it very closely, and at some point I'll make a determination. But Roger Stone and everybody has to be treated fairly. And this has not been a fair process. Okay? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephan.
Okay, that was yesterday, and Trump was giving that speech in Las Vegas to a number of people who were just released from prison, some held wrongfully for years, and it was about getting them a second chance in jobs. So that's when he referred to, you guys in the audience know this better than the sheriffs and the people in Washington. But anyway, it was interesting because it really does highlight the two-tier justice system. And I dare say you would never hear another president talk like that, at least in modern times. And I found it interesting because it highlighted how there is a system of justice, two-tier system of justice at the higher levels. Now, whether it will ever be resolved, let's just watch it. And boy, it's difficult. It's a difficult thing. You can't run a country like this. And maybe this is one of the ways the Vatican-led New World Order and all its minions are trying to destroy it. But anyway, I want to go back to that communism article that appeared in the biggest Jesuit Catholic magazine in the country, the America Magazine. And the headline, this appeared July 23rd, 2019. It says, the Catholic, let me get this correct. The Catholic case for communism. Okay? That's here. Yeah, the Catholic case for communism. Okay, you Catholics, what do you think about that? It is when, and there's a quote at the top of the article, it is when the communists are good that they are dangerous. That is how Dorothy Day begins an article in America, published just before the launch of the Catholic Worker, on May Day in 1933. In contrast to the reactions of many, many Catholics of the time, Day painted a sympathetic, if critical view of the communists she encountered in Depression-era New York City. Her deep personalism allowed her to see the human stories through the ideological struggle, and yet she concluded that Catholicism and communism were not only compatible, but mutual threats. A whole Cold War has passed since her reflection, and a few clarifying notes are now worthwhile. Communists are attracted to communism by their goodness. Day argued, that unreasonable quality of the good that can be found within the outside of the church alike, woven into our very nature. It might have been an easier thing to say back in 1933 when American communists were well known to the general public for putting their lives on the line to support striking workers. They're making a great, the Jesuits are making a great case that we should move into socialism, communism, okay? But it was also the kind of thing that could land you in a lot of trouble, not least in the Catholic Church. Wow. So now you know what? What's going to get you in trouble? If you're wearing a MAGA hat, you like America, with all these liberals and Jesuit communists and socialists running around who are trying to destroy America, basically. Let's just put it the way it is. Just destruction. And I only have 3 minutes here, so let me read a couple more paragraphs. Now, it says this, and I don't want to run over, that by affirming the goodness that drives so many communists then and now, Day aimed to soften the perceptions of Catholics who were more comfortable with villainous caricatures of communists of their era than more challenging depictions of them as laborers for peace and economic justice. Most people who join communist parties and movements, Day rightly noted, are motivated not by some deep hatred toward God or frothing atheism, but by an aspiration for a world liberated from the political economy that demands vast exploitation of the many for the comfort of a few. Well, let's ask the people of Venezuela, who are the many the few exploiting for the many that have nothing. I think you'll find it's the socialist communist leaders. But in her attempt to create sympathy for the people attracted to communism and to overcome a knee-jerk prejudice against them, Day needlessly perpetuated two other prejudices against communism. First, she said that under all the goodness that draws people to communism, the movement is, in the final analysis, a program with the distinct view of tearing down the church. You see, what they're going to do here is they're going to, maybe we'll get this next week because I'm only have a minute. They're trying to say that communism and Catholicism are compatible. Well, hell yeah. Ask Pope Pius XII. Nazism and the Vatican were very compatible. Everything's compatible to them. They're just not telling you they're going to be the few in power, and you're not. And they're going to get you there by taking away your land, taking away your rights, taking away everything that they're trying to do today. So don't be bamboozled, because they're doing a real slick idea here. And I'm telling you this. I'm not talking about modern everyday people. Whether you're communist or not, you don't have a say. These people are going to lead you by the nose anywhere they want if we don't realize who the hell they are. So I demand, that sounds good. I ask you, I demand you, please research anything you can get your hold of. Jesuits and socialism, Jesuits and how many countries they were kicked out of Europe, Jesuits, and look at the founding of America. I'll help you with some things. But I got to go. Have a good weekend. Stay happy with the loved ones you love. See you Monday on The Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.